Another OG that anyone who played the early games will know very, very well, and has maintained a very solid and staple role in any library ever since. It is DRF00 Dragonbeetle, with the kit of triple press, light legs, and the leg ability of Acrobatics, which passively buffs his evade stat as a natural bonus. Now, as a model that's been around pretty much since the early days, and as a model as well that's been available in Medarotters since its very beginning days and day of launch, this is a model that is very easy to collect, moderately easy to raise up to certain levels, and a model that you really can't ever go wrong with using for the simple reason that press is very good for heavy punish. On that, press is a gravity attribute skill for that very same reason, which means that it does have a natural metaforce bonus tied to boosting his success, and it's also very good for heavy punish, which means anyone using 2 or more heavy parts is definitely going to feel the pain, but anyone using 1 or none, probably not much if at all. Light legs also means that he will have a naturally higher mobility compared to most other legs, and an equally as high natural evade on top of that, arguably tying with sea legs in many cases when it comes to his likelihood of dodging or grazing a lot of even mid-success attacks to a point, even if it's at the cost that he can't support any heavy parts. That, unfortunately, is kind of where it falls off the banner and kind of starts hurting Dragonbeetle to a point. Because press is good for heavy punish, it does have the higher multiplier bonus at ×2, it lacks pierce damage that break or break hammer or even wide break as an AoE would have, meaning it's only really good for spot punishing heavy targets and not good for dealing a lot of damage. In addition, the base damage of all 3 of his parts is moderately low in the mid 600s at best, which means if he's not attacking someone with 2 or more heavy parts, it's really going to be nothing more than a love tap at best. His armor is honestly kind of squishy too, which makes using him a little more of a liability, unfortunately, with his head just barely packing 2,900, his arms at about 2,700 each, and his legs at just shy of 3,000. So a good hit that he takes will cripple him very quickly, if not outright kill him. And on the topic of incoming hits, this also is a very massive pain point for Dragonbeetle, which makes using him more of a liability if it wasn't already. At a melee resist of 354 and a shoot resist of 548, he literally has paper armor and even worse defenses, which means anything that he takes is going to be very painful no matter what it is. And if someone is using an anti-air base attack, you may as well as dig his grave and bury him in it at that point. Even if he does have a mobility of 745, which is kind of mid-tier for most flight legs, as an inexpensive and kind of a free model anyone can collect from the permanent pool, this is kind of par for the course. He does, however, have a relatively high evade stat at just over 1,700 in this case, and this is of course not factoring in the Acrobatics leg ability, which will boost this up much higher and make it easier for him to dodge a lot of attacks, which he will be relying on a lot. That being said, as a pure set score, I do sadly have to grade Dragonbeetle a very flat 4.5 out of 10. While he is very good for heavy punish and he does have moderately good evade on his roster, that's kind of it for him. He has very low armor capability, his damage is just barely passable at best, and the inability to deal pierce damage when attacking heavy foes are all things that really hurt him a lot. And again, that's also not touching on his abysmally low shoot and melee resist stats, which make him even more of a liability and an open target on the field, even to low level enemies that can take him out particularly quick. As mixed parts though, I do have to rate him just a little bit higher at a 5.5 out of 10. Even though his armor stat and his resist stats are abysmally terrible compared to most other parts you can use, even from the permanent banner, he still does have some viability if he's all you have. Press is still good for that heavy punish and that success bonus, but you just have to know going in, that's going to be the big thing he's relying on when you choose to use him. So while triple press may not be something as super desirable as a kit, maybe using his head or one of his arms with someone else in the kit just so you have that heavy punishment coverage is still better than not having it at all.